Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is forecaster Nathan Kitchens here with convective weather. We had a very active day during the day yesterday. Numerous tornadoes across parts of the tornado alley yesterday. We had two fatalities, unfortunately, in Oklahoma from those really strong tornadoes that pushed through yesterday. Our storm chasers have been very busy these past couple of weeks going out there in the plains and getting some great pictures and footage, and we posted some of that on our Facebook page, so be sure to check all that out. It's really some incredible pictures that our storm chasers have gotten. And here's a look at the storm reports from yesterday. All the red dots indicate where we did have tornado reports yesterday. You can see several here clustered south across southern southeast Oklahoma, and a few across the central part of Oklahoma. And all the green is hail reports. Hail is also a fairly common report here. A total of 127 of those hail reports yesterday, and that was actually the most common report yesterday from as far as the severe weather mode. 59 wind reports, all in the blue, and we had 24 tornado reports again in the red, and total reports we had a total of 210 storm reports during the day yesterday. And today, that trough that brought the severe weather yesterday across parts of the Central Plains. That trough is weakening, but has moved into parts of the Ohio Valley, and that's triggering some severe storms in that area for today. We actually have several different areas, 3 different areas that the Storm Prediction Center has outlined for today with the risk for severe storms. Fortunately, I have the map up here for the risk for today. Unfortunately, decided not to load. Let's get to the website here and show you the Storm Prediction Center map for today. We have an enhanced threat across parts of the Ohio Valley here, and the slight risk in the yellow. We're also watching areas across central Texas. It's going to be dry line. We have a dry line pushing through it. We're going to see dry line enhanced storms developing along this dry line this afternoon. Hail will be certainly a big threat with these storms here and damaging winds, and also a slight risk here across portions of northwest Kansas and parts of southern Nebraska. A very small area here. Some kind of an upper level system comes in. We're going to see some elevated storms developing here. Wind, hail, the biggest threats with those. So let's take a look at the different modes of severe weather as far as the probability. Within 25 miles of a given point, this is the tornado probability for today. The biggest tornado threat here today is across the Ohio Valley, areas from much of southern southeast parts of Indiana. Watching from central, northern, and east central Kentucky, we have that 5% tornado risk today. And I'll show you why there is a little bit of an elevated tornado risk today. We have some turning of the winds with height. The shear is not, the shear is actually just kind of right on the border, just enough. It's just enough to produce severe weather. But the thing is, we do have some helicity and turning of the winds with height in the lower levels of the atmosphere going up towards the mid levels. What that does is it produces spin, and that can produce a few tornadoes. So that's why there is that tornado threat today, a little bit more elevated perhaps than what we kind of normally see here. And also there's that 2% tornado threat today in central Texas as we see the storms develop along that dry line. We're going to be watching that this afternoon and this evening. And also a 2% tornado threat today across portions of the eastern half of South Dakota, parts of south central, southeastern North Dakota, and across parts of central and northeastern Nebraska. The wind threat today, again, 30% risk here of damaging winds across the Ohio Valley. This is within 25 miles of a given point. We have a 15% damaging wind risk across central Texas, and also here across parts of northwest Kansas. It's very little sliver here from northwest Kansas and far southern Nebraska. And hail threat today. We have an enhanced hail threat here across parts of Texas. What we have here are very steep lapse rates. And what I mean by that is temperatures that are decreasing very rapidly with height. So we're warming the surface. We have a lot of sunshine today here across Texas. We're warming the surface, and you have very cold air aloft. What does that do? You got very warm air at the surface, very cold air above you. That's an unstable situation. And we have very cold air aloft, lower freezing levels. We get some stronger updrafts with these storms this afternoon. There will be that really kind of elevated hail threat today, and perhaps some very large hail too. Obviously this area, you guys are prone to very large hail events, and we got to watch for some large hail in some of these storms today. This isn't one of those major, unusual days, but this is definitely something you got to keep in mind. Hail, certainly you guys are prone to it, and today is one of those days where if you get under a storm, you've got to be watching for the potential for hail and perhaps some large hail. And also just a 5% hail risk here across parts of the central and northern high plains. Alright, so I want to show you the composite reflectivity from the HRRR model. This is a high-resolution, short-range model that we do show you. It only goes out to 15 hours. It's not perfect, but it does give you an idea of how we think things are going to shape up as far as how the storms will be developing this afternoon. I'm going to kind of zoom in here to the Ohio Valley because this is really kind of the area with stronger threat for severe storms, including a couple tornadoes today. As we go throughout the afternoon, we're going to see some supercellular storms developing. We have this vortex coming through, and as we continue to get this vortex running into a more unstable atmosphere, an atmosphere that's getting daytime heating, we're getting the buildup of instability. Storms will continue to fire up, and you can see kind of this splotchy mode here of storms this afternoon as they continue to push into parts of southern Indiana and across portions of Kentucky. And look at the storms kind of getting that supercellular mode this evening. And when you get that kind of mode of storms, that's when you do have to watch for the potential for perhaps some isolated tornadoes. This isn't a tornado outbreak, but there is potential for a couple isolated tornadoes today in this area. And going throughout the evening, this is by the time we get to 7 o'clock Eastern Time. This would be 6 o'clock Central Time. Continuing to see scattered storms in this area. And here we are by 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central. Still some ongoing storms, and we'll have to watch parts of southeast India, especially Kentucky here, even throughout the overnight hours perhaps, extending as far as late as midnight with potential for some severe weather here. Alright, and also I want to show you the winds, how they're changing with height. I really like this map that Pivotal Weather offers. This is a really great map. It shows you the surface-based cape. Also, it's showing you the wind direction in various 3 fixed levels of the atmosphere. So this bottom red line, that's the surface, or excuse me, the red line is the surface. The middle barb here, that would be, I'm actually not sure exactly where these are fixed. I'm sorry, this is actually at 850, I'm sorry. So that's at 850 millibars, this blue line, that's about 5,000 feet above the surface. And then the last line here, that's at 500 millibars, which is about 18,000 feet. And what I want you to notice here, we have the winds turning a bit with height. And it's that turning with height in the lower levels of the atmosphere that we do have to keep an eye on storms that could produce isolated tornadoes. As we do have some enough spin that could produce isolated tornadoes, along with some decent cape values here as well for today. And the shear, I'm going to go ahead and throw the shear on here. It's not, nothing spectacular, but it is sufficient enough to produce severe storms. You want the wind shear to be roughly 40 knots or greater. That's kind of where our threshold, 40 knots or greater, to really maintain some storms, to maintain more organized storms. So as I go throughout here, fairly weak shear, but we do have just enough, I think, to produce severe storms down here across parts of central West Kentucky. The shear does get up to about 40 to perhaps as high as 50 knots, so that is enough to produce those severe storms. And again, this isn't the only area with the risk for severe storms. We're also watching areas farther off towards the south and west and across parts of Texas. And I'll try to show you this here on the south central U.S. view here. Show you Texas today. Okay, and first I'm showing you the shear values here this afternoon. The shear is sufficient enough to produce severe storms. Let's look at the composite reflectivity. And we're going to see those storms developing this afternoon. They go forward here. I'll try to get to the timeline here to give you a better look, forecast hour loop. And we're going to see these storms developing mid to late afternoon. Here we are by, this would actually be 1 o'clock Central Time. Very isolated supercells starting to form. And going forward here, once we get to about 2 o'clock and then 3 o'clock, supercellular storms continuing to fire up across this area. Again, hail will be a big threat with these storms this afternoon, and along with damage and winds possibility as well. I'm getting to the slideshow here to show you a better look at these here. And I apologize for not having this up already. So again, as we go throughout the afternoon, storms continuing to develop. Here we are by 4 o'clock Central Time. Supercellular storms across the area. Those continue through 6 o'clock this evening across central Texas. Here we are by 7 o'clock Central Time. Storms continuing. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So we'll continue to watch the time frame from about 3 o'clock this afternoon all the way until about 11 this evening at least. We'll have that threat for severe storms in this area. Large hail, a big threat, along with damaging winds as well. And of course, we're also going to be watching the area across parts of northwest Kansas and far south Nebraska for just a few isolated severe storms possible. Damaging winds, perhaps some hail, the big threats there later on this afternoon. Well, that'll wrap it up for this update. Just wanted to kind of give you guys a look at where we're looking at severe weather potential today. So it's another active day. Be sure to be weather aware if you are in the path or if you are under the risk for storms, severe storms later on today. Well, that'll wrap it up for this update. Thanks for tuning in, and hope you all have a great day and stay safe.